another edition of the Rockin' Rewind podcast. Here's your host, James Poovey and Ray Miranda.
Welcome to another edition of the Rockin' Rewind podcast. My name is James Poovey, alongside my co-host this evening, Mr. Ray Miranda. Ray, we're going to talk about some good times we had just a few weeks back when we took in the Dream Theater show out at the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona, just around the corner from us here in the Valley of the Sun. And it was a great time. That tour obviously still continuing right now, so we'll talk about that tonight. And then there's a number of other bands also out on tour right now, and tell us about some of those.
All right, James. Hey, man. Good to be here. Hey, everybody. How you guys doing? Yeah, we're going to talk about them. We'll start off with some guys who are touring right now, and one of them being the Eagles.
Okay.
The classicest of all classic rock bands. I mean, California's Love Child or whatever. I don't know. Those, they are promoting. Actually, they started this tour a year and a half ago, and then COVID shut it down a little bit. So
is it another Eagles farewell tour possibly? Or
no,
I've heard that a little bit here and there, but we also heard that back when that they'd never get back together again, right? Remember the Hell Freezes Over tour back in '94?
A lot of guys say that. Molly Crew said the same thing.
But then somebody writes a big check, and then the tune changes, right?
As they say, money talks, BS walks, man.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Supposedly, this is a Hotel California. They call it the Hotel California tour.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're playing that whole album, or I don't know what they're doing. Well, let's see a little bit.
Let's give some a listen here as we talk. Have you seen the Eagles before?
You know what, man? I have never seen them because every time
you've never seen the Eagles in concert. Oh man,
where they're like super expensive. Man.
They are fantastic. There's a Scott Crago on the drums right there.
Yeah, Life is Fascinating. You might want to turn that a little bit.
Yeah, let's give that a little bit more if we can.
Yeah.
They're just solid, man. Absolutely solid.
Yeah. And notice Hanley's not playing the drums, he's playing guitar.
That's right.
Now he does play the drums.
He does play the drums, yes. He plays on about it's about 4 or 5 songs total in the set. But a guy named Scott Crago back there on the drums, that he's been there for a good little while now, since the early 90s he got on board with them.
Well, Glenn Fry, unfortunately, with us.
This is a pretty good video right here. You can tell this is kind of crowd shot, possibly, but good stuff. There's Timothy B. Schmidt right there.
Yes. And there was an internet hoax about him not being alive back then. He's alive and well.
About Timothy B. Schmidt?
Yeah, there was a hoax about him dying. And
he is alive and well, my friend. As a matter of fact, where is I've got that album. It's autographed on the wall over there. The Long Run. I got a chance to meet them. I went backstage when they were here in Phoenix. It was a long time ago now, maybe 15, almost 20 years ago. And I had the pleasure of getting to meet Timothy B. Schmidt. It was pretty cool, man. But I didn't have any Eagles albums at the time, but I was like, I want to have an album to sign. So I went to, and this was when you couldn't, vinyl hadn't really made a comeback or anything yet. And so I can't even remember where I got the album, but I found a copy of the Long Run. I'm like, I'm going to take this with me and see if I can get it signed. And sure enough, he was kind enough to do that. So it was pretty cool. Yeah. Super nice guy, super chill.
That album, they had written the first album. Long Run was the second one, I believe.
There's Joe Walsh right there.
And they almost, the record company said, hey, I don't know which one, but it was not their first album. They had to come out and they said, hey, you guys need to write another album right now. And they went in there and put together the Long Run, which is crazy to me.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? And now, unfortunately, since Glenn Fry passed away, you know that Vince Gill has been playing with the Eagles on tour. Yes. And then Glenn Fry's son also plays with them as well. So now they have I think they have about 17 guitar players in the band now. So it's hard to keep up. But you talk about tight musicianship and then just a fullness of sound, Ray, that I can't even explain to you. I mean, it's just as far as like almost perfect. Like, and I understand that's part of their MO, is that they're kind of perfectionists. I don't know if you're aware, but Steely Dan kind of has the same sort of stereotype because they're known to be perfectionists and everything has to be exactly right. I mean, they have nothing but A-list players in the band and XYZ, but all good stuff there. Always been a big fan of the Eagles.
Yeah, Pink Floyd's like that too.
Exactly.
Or David Gilmour or Roger Waters, whoever's doing it at the time. You know, and they you saw Glenn Fry's son playing the guitar there, the youngest guy up on the stage probably, and they're touring. They're great. You know, I don't know if you have do you have that Life's Been Good? Do you have that one or no?
I think we've got that up right here. Yes, sir. Turn that up just a little bit.
Let's do a little bit because I love this rocking with it.
There's Joe Cool right there, also known as Joe Walsh.
Just let him sing a little bit, man. The guy's so a little bit out of tune and stuff. I don't care. Joe Walsh.
Well, you want it. You want it like that. You want the warts and all. That's what you want, right? There's something to be said about playing live, and you have to respect people that truly play live. There's so much of the stuff going on right now with people playing the tracks and extra backing vocals because we don't have enough people or whatever the case may be. But these guys, all real, all 100%. There might be a lot of them up on stage, but everyone is playing their part.
Right, and a lot of these guys, of course, they're studio musicians that tour with them. But just check this out. When he starts playing, when he starts singing, this is good stuff.
Really good stuff.
And he's very humorous. The crowd starts laughing and stuff.
Yeah, he's a ham. He's a big time ham, and he'll talk to the crowd too during the show and get it going.
Yeah.
That guy has been through the ringer.
Yeah.
And lived to tell about it, my man.
See that? It's just like, I love it.
Just always the consummate performer. Yeah, that's the thing.
But you're right, man. Joe Walsh. I mean, he'll tell you, man, I probably shouldn't even be here right now.
Right. Like a 9 Lives type of situation, right?
Yeah, these guys are great. So if you get a
they're
chance,
fantastic.
There's 3 original members still in there. There's Hanley, Walsh, and then Timothy B. Schmidt.
Yes.
And right now they're on the East Coast, and they're going up and down the East Coast. They're going to go to the Midwest. They've already been to the West Coast, unfortunately, for people on California or whatever that are listening to this. Then they're going to go across the pond to England for a couple dates, and I'd say go see them. Might be their last time.
Oh, absolutely. If you have not had a chance to go see them, and I would tell you the same thing, Ray. Make sure if they come to Phoenix again, and I think they either just did or they're just about to.
They were here in September.
I think they were just here a little recently. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
they put on a phenomenal show, but you got to check them out if you haven't had a chance to.
They were here for 2 nights, so that's probably about 40,000 people they played in front of, maybe 50,000, 60,000 people.
Now, I don't know if you've heard, a lot of times Eddie Trunk will talk about, especially towards the end of the year, the company called Polestar will put out the numbers from concert revenue, and the Eagles will average about $1 million a show.
Okay,
they'll go out and play like 12 or 13 shows a year and make like $40 million.
Okay, I got a little fun fact for question for you.
Hit
Who
it.
do you think has sold the most albums in the United States? What band in the world, American band has sold the most albums? Well,
Ever?
ever.
American band that sold the most albums ever in America or worldwide?
Uh, I, I I think it's in America.
I would have to say Aerosmith.
Well, I kind of gave the answer away because we're talking about these guys. Not Metallica. I would think it might be them. It's the Eagles.
It's the Eagles.
Eagles, yeah. I've asked that question to a lot of people, and they're, oh, Led Zeppelin or the Who or the Beatles. And I go, no, American band.
Right,
And the Eagles are the highest selling American band in the country, and it might even be the world. I don't know. But
I think you're right. I think you're right. Well, part of their appeal is, they appeal to the country type audience, and then they appeal to the rock audience as well. And you'll hear that you'll hear their music on easy listening stations and
Right.
everything. So they, that's the ultimate goal. Really, is you see a lot of these artists now, like a Lady Gaga or any of those type of people that have such talent and can cross over and be. You could flip through the dial and you might hear them on 5 different stations as you go all the way through.
Yeah. And so anyway, if you get a chance, go see them. Whoever's out there listening to this, just go check them out. Their official site is eagles.com. I mean, they jumped on the internet bandwagon early on.
They did, right?
I know that a long time ago if I'd have known better, but
no kidding. You could have sold that for a pretty penny.
We'll move on here real quick. The next band, now, we like to talk about older bands, but we're going to throw some newer bands in there, like we did with Sons of Apollo. And now Sons of Apollo those guys have been around for decades, the players in the band.
Yes.
But we're going to talk about a newer band with young kids that play. And that little banner you have behind you reminds a lot of people of them. And that is Greta Van Fleet. And
now they're getting a chance to open for Metallica. Is that right?
Yes, in some certain places, yeah. And for them to do what they're doing is a young. They're probably they're probably 25 and under. I think the drummer is a little bit older.
Okay.
And it's 3 brothers.
I've got to check them out. I've really not hardly heard any of their stuff. Maybe 10, 12 seconds here and there, but that's about it.
Yeah, if you listen to them, they're fantastic. You can look them up on YouTube or whatever. Greta Van Fleet, just like it sounds. Look them up. They're young band. They're 3 brothers. 2 of them are twins, I think.
Oh,
and
wow.
then they have a drummer that he might be like 27. But they are, and I think they're popular because people are hungry for this. That's what people want. And they sound like the singer. He's got a real high voice, so he sounds a little bit like Robert Plant. But what it is that blues-based, pentatonic, straight-ahead rock and roll, man.
Old school, good time rock and roll, right? That's what everybody's jonesing for. That's why we're here right now, right? Because we're trying to just talk about that same sort of stuff that people. It's not going to go away. You listen to some of this stuff now and you won't remember it 5-10 years from now. That stuff on the radio now, but the old stuff. And then you have a new band, younger guys, like you mentioned, that come along and you say, oh, you immediately say, oh, that sounds a little bit Zeppelinish, or, oh, that sounds a little, a little like Boston or whatever it is. But, it reminds them of something. And then you get the smile on the face and everything. And then it's on from there. And then they're great players too, from what I understand.
Oh yeah. Young. I mean, the guitar player's outstanding. He's a blues based or a rock blues based guitarist, but he's good. I mean, the kid is good. And what they do is just fantastic. Right now they're touring through the Midwest. Then they're going to go to the East Coast. If they come out here, I'd go see them. Just to support the music and just because I like their music, and I'd go see it. I'm not really familiar with it. I'm trying to learn it. And right now they're supporting, excuse me, their second album. It's called Battle at Garden's Gate. And so they got a couple of their second album is a couple of songs I heard is a little bit different from their first album.
Mm-hmm.
But so they're still trying to find their identity, but they're still based in that rock and roll 70s type guitar oriented music, which is what everyone, a lot of people are hungry for that.
Well, the first I had heard of him was through Eddie Trunk, and he started talking about him. I mean, it's been a couple of years now. I think he's been talking about Greta Van Fleet, and he said it's just one of those few bands that really reminds you of the type of rock and roll that we enjoy, and it's not the screaming and yelling and all that. It's the melodic singing and the hooks and all that stuff that with the catchy groove that you say, oh wow, that's pretty good. You got to run that back again, right?
Right, and there's a couple of few other bands we'll talk about that are young like that, and that are coming up strong. Actually, they're a little bit older, but they're starting to gain some traction. We'll get into those guys as time goes on here. So anyway, their official website, Greta Van Fleet, just like it sounds.com. So go in there. Maybe they're coming to town here. Go to them. They're probably not going to charge you $200 to go see them. $30, and go see them. They're not fans. They're not going to be shooting fireworks up and all that. They're just gonna rock you is what they're going to do.
Well, I would like to say go see them now so you can say you saw them win, but if they're about to start opening for Metallica, that's getting into a whole new territory right there.
And you know what? It'll be interesting to see how they're accepted by that crowd. They're not going to get booed off because they're so popular, but when you talk about that Metallica, you're talking about some man. There's a lot of energy in there, so I think that'd be a great opening act. As long as they don't try to drag things out and do whatever. We'll see what happens, but it'll be good.
And I would hate to compare the Metallica to the Eagles, but in that same vein, maybe a band that you might need to get out and see, because Metallica has been doing it for a long time since we were younger.
Oh yeah,
and they're not getting any younger either, and so you never know when they might be doing the swan song. And calling it a tour. So I've never seen Metallica personally. I've never seen them in concert.
You know what?
That's on my list.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm a fan of their older stuff, less than their newer stuff, and only because I haven't heard some of their newer stuff.
Right.
But stuff like Master Puppets, and that album was probably
pretty much And Justice for All and Back for me.
Oh yes, yeah.
Especially stuff like Garage Days and
I have that album.
Really good. Yes.
Album of the week or whatever.
We might do a whole show on Metallica sometime, so stay tuned for that.
Huh?
Yes.
You know about that album?
Oh yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I didn't even think.
I remember riding my bike to go buy that album. That tape, I should say, that cassette tape, one of the first few that came on chromium oxide. Remember that when all the tapes used to be white, and then they changed over to the clear with the black type label on there, that chromium oxide look.
Yes,
sir.
I remember that. Wow. Okay.
Absolutely. You remember you could buy tapes at the grocery store. Do you remember that? And they had the big long the theft protecting thing on there, so they'd have to go up and take all that off at the register, and so you'd pull a tape out and put it in your cart, and it would have this big monstrosity attached to the little tiny cassette tape.
Yeah, man. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Wow,
those are the good old days.
We're going way back now, like way back. But another band, Ray, that's out on tour right now, a band that I've always enjoyed, and I've had the pleasure of seeing them a few times as well, from the Pacific Northwest, is Queensryche. Now, a couple different versions of the band, as we talked about off air before the show tonight, but really good stuff, man. And I actually got a chance to hear the Jeff Tate version, or Jeff Tate's Queensryche, or whatever it's called, And
Well, we talked about them.
it's still Jeff Tate singing. Don't make any mistake about it. That guy can still get it done.
We did a little bit of a show for them, a month or two ago.
Yes.
But yes, they are touring. They're supporting Judas Priest. They're opening for Judas Priest, which is fantastic for them because they're going to get a lot of exposure. And they are let's talk about Priest first real quick.
Okay.
Priest is touring right now, all starting right now. They're going to be here in Phoenix along with Queensryche in middle of March. So a couple weeks actually from now. And they're doing what they call a Celebrating 50 Heavy Metal Years tour. So I have no idea what their set list is like. You could probably look that up on Setlist FM.
Apparently, it's going to be all over the map, and they've had a lot of controversy as of late too, because they've had guitar players in and out of the band. They originally were going to go with 5 guys on the road, and then they decided to trim it to 4. And then the fans had such an outrage that they decided to bring back Richie Faulkner and have him come out and tour again with them. And it's been it's been quite a controversy, and all that on top of just trying to get out on the road to begin with.
Faulkner had, almost died on stage. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, he's had some health issues for sure.
So it was a weird. It was just something that came out. He's a healthy guy, good shape and everything. He had some kind of a heart issue, and that something that just happens to people, I guess, here and there. But apparently, he's healthy enough to go out and play again. And the latest videos I've seen, he's out there. And of course, KK Downing is not with the band anymore.
Correct.
Out there, he's got his own version of Priest out there, based out of I think England, or I'm not sure, but I think that's where he's living right now. But yeah,
it's all about the copyright, and it's all about the publishing rights, Ray. On these bands, if you like, let's say a guy like Glenn Tipton was the co-writer on songs 9, 10, 12, and 14. Now he has the right to go out and perform songs 9, 10, 12, and 14 and put that label on it and be able to, to use it like that. So the music business is absolutely crazy.
I was listening to an interview with KK Downing with Eddie Trump, and he said, I don't remember everything about it, but he said one of the problems that he had was that he was not being able to play some of the main riffs and stuff. It was always Tipton that was doing it. And so there was kind of a, between the two guitar players, which, man, I don't know. I think
it happens a lot in bands, and a lot of times when a band has 2 guitar players, there's going to be a lot of sword fighting. Yeah, you can just count on it. They're going to start turning up louder than each other. I'm telling you, from a drummer's perspective, they're going to turn up louder, and then one's going to turn up louder than the other, and it's going to go back and forth between the JCM 900s. Who can turn up the loudest? Yeah. And you got one of them sitting right behind you, right there, a JCM 900 head on that Marshall. But it's fun though. But that's part of Priest's signature sound is that two guitar crunch, and that's a lot of what they're known for.
Right. So, anyway, they got Faulkner, as far as I know, is with them right now. And then Glenn Tipton's there. And I think they even have another one. Some of the video I saw, they had 3 guitar players. So
I wouldn't doubt it.
So I'm not sure who's with them touring right now. But, go see him, because I saw the video. Rob Halford's looking a little, man, I don't know how much longer he's got.
He's a Phoenix guy too, right? He lives here in Phoenix. He lives over in the not the Biltmore, but somewhere over there in Paradise Valley. He's got a house. Yeah. So anyway, the current members they got Ian Hill, Halford, Tipton, Scott Travis, I think is the drummer. So Travis is the drummer, yes.
And then Richie Faulkner. And, JudasPriest.com is their official site. So go check that out. And they are touring with the guys you mentioned before, Queensryche. which is the other Queensryche.
And just like that, right on cue, here comes Queensryche. Now, this is the current version of the official band, if you will. Todd LaTorre on vocals right there, and he can kill it. This is good stuff right here. That is no easy stuff to sing right there. Casey Grillo on the drums.
Yeah.
There's Michael Wilton on guitar right there.
Original guitarist right there. He's the guy I think that started it. And Chris DeGarmo wasn't.
Yes, Chris DeGarmo is sorely missed in Queensryche.
Yes. I don't know what he's up to nowadays.
Last I heard, he was doing, like films. He would do film scores and so forth.
Okay.
Still doing music. Once it's in the blood, it usually stays in there.
But so I don't know
One
what
of my favorite songs right there.
As far as their conflict and stuff. Jeff Tate.
Well, they have a lot of internal strife. The original drummer Scott Rockenfield has just disappeared from the scene. Apparently, he was going to be playing with this version of the band, and then something happened that no one knows what or why or how, and he just basically disappeared. Is what I heard. And they had commitments. They had tours booked and dates booked already, so they had to get another guy. And they got Casey Grillo, who was a great player. And but they thought, well, maybe Scott will come back, maybe he'll, whatever. But it's just, who knows?
Well, anyway,
there's Eddie Jackson right there on bass.
Yeah. Great band, good team. They're all fairly young, so they're going to be around for a while. Hopefully. Make some great music. Some of I've heard some of the new stuff. Good stuff. Obviously,
the guitar solo is really good. It's a great video too.
Yeah. Trading licks there.
Love it. Here's the 2-guitar sound right here.
Yeah.
Good stuff right there, man.
So anyway, go check those guys out. They're going to be touring. Might as well check out Priest while you're there, or other way around, I guess. But
yeah, that would be a great show. I got to give it up to Judas Priest, because that was my first entry into rock and roll when I was 5 years old. It was, my brothers having the albums on the turntable. And I think it was Screaming for Vengeance.
One of the first songs I ever learned playing the guitar was Living After Midnight.
Okay.
And because it's a simple, hey, nothing against the song, because it's a great, it's an anthem, but it's a very simple song to play. And you don't have to be Yngwie Malmsteen to play that song. It was great. I'll play it, man. Speaking of Yngwie,
we'll be talking about some Yngwie coming up, because I'm a huge Yngwie fan. I know you said you are too, so that we could definitely do a whole show on that guy. He is something else, and he's starting to tour again as well. So we should go catch that when it comes.
Yeah, he's going to be in Phoenix in May.
Okay, well there you have it.
So we need to get together for that one. Hey, you never know. It is. Be able to talk to the guy. He's settled down a lot. He used to be kind of a jerk, But
I've heard some stories.
Everything I've heard, anyway. I've never had any personal interaction with him, but hey man, how you doing? Hopefully he'd come over and talk to us. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out, right?
Yeah, but anyway, go check out Queensryche and Judas Priest. Queensryche Official Queensryche.com is their official site. And it's kind of weird because there's some Jeff Tate stuff in there too. So don't disregard Jeff Tate because he's got a great band also.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Which we talked about. And, it's the music with Jeff Tate's voice is what it is. And so it's, if you're a purist, Jeff Tate's the guy, because he's the one that he's got the voice for all that. But Todd LaTorre does fantastic too.
Now, today is the second to last day of the month. And is it hard to believe that it was the second day of the month that we went and saw this right here? Has it been that long ago?
Yeah.
Dream Theater.
I'm glad you did that little transition.
That is good stuff right there.
We were looking forward to that for a long time, and then it happened. And I got to tell you, man, they played 10 songs for people who still haven't seen them yet. Excuse me. They're going to play 10 songs.
Yes.
And each song is probably anywhere from 5, 6, 7 minutes to 15
to
minutes.
20.
20, yeah. In fact, I did write down their set list. And so just so you know, here we go. I'll read it real quick. The Alien, 6 o'clock, Awaken the Master, Endless Sacrifice, Bridges in the Sky, Invisible Monster, About to Crash, which we couldn't remember the name of that song. Ministry
That's
of
a great
Lost
one off of
Souls.
6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence.
Yes. Ministry of Lost Souls, A View from the Top of the World, which is like 30 minutes long.
Yes.
And then the encore was Count of Tuscany. I hope I didn't ruin anyone's, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, View from the Top of the World, that's the 20-minute one.
Yes. So
which was awesome. I had never even heard it until the night of the show, but it was all impressive, Ray. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
The light show and everything. They had a great stage, and it was almost the simplicity of it all too. They didn't have any cabinets out there, as you can see, and I'm sure that's part of John's idea, so he doesn't want people feeling the sound. There's a lot of guitar players like that, but this is really good stuff right here.
And this is one thing I wanted to ask you about. I noticed one that typical Dream Theater too. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts on it.
What is it? I'm sorry.
No, hold on. Let's wait. I'm talking over his story.
That was a great night right there, and
well, here's what I wanted to know. Here's what I was asking. Sorry, everyone, for talking.
No, you're fine.
Petrucci doing this thing there. One thing I was kind of curious about was his the drum setup was small compared to what it is typically, and I was wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Well,
because I know you've seen him, and usually there's like the drums take up half the stage.
Right. That was definitely the smallest kit I have seen Mike Mangini play. Well, I take that back. When I saw him as a member of Extreme, and that was back in '95, he played at Dallas City. They played at Dallas City Limits and tore the roof off the place. Mm-hmm. And he played a kid even smaller than that, but that was definitely the smallest kid I've seen him with Dream Theater for sure.
Okay. So do you know why he did that? Because even Portnoy, when he always had, you couldn't even see the dude back there, and Mangini both.
The thing with drummers, here's what happens with drummers. There's two different things. There's two, from what I've seen, there's two sets of drummers. There's guys that are constantly trying to reinvent themselves and figure out they're not happy with the way that they play or their style, or they're trying to reinvent their style, and they're constantly trying to switch up things. So they'll just constantly try, oh, okay, I'm going to go 2 rack toms this time. I'm going to go 1 rack and 2 floors. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a drum over here. I'm going to put a timpani drum in here this time. And then you'll see other guys that'll have the same setup for 45 years, and it'll never be different.
Okay.
So because they get comfortable with one setup, and then they're just kind of glued to it, and it's almost a security blanket for them. That's the only way I know how to describe it to you.
Well, what I did notice was that he didn't miss anything.
Oh no.
Now he didn't need for the songs they played on this the set they played that night. The little small drums that are like this big and
little octobans, yes.
Yeah, he didn't need any of that. They didn't do, some of the, he was able to pull all that off without having those little small drums and, stuff that I've seen, the ones that are up top that are kind of, all that stuff.
That's right. They didn't do a few of those songs.
I didn't miss it. I'm not a drummer, and I didn't,
Now they could just be out in the truck, because those are kind of easy to add on to the rack system there, and they just kind of add a couple of pieces, and then now he's got octobans up top. But it's and I can equate it to you like this: a guy that plays that good, how do I say it? Like, how you talk about pro football players and they say, oh, the speed of the game is so fast, but the good players know how to slow the game down.
Right.
The same way.
Baseball players are the same. The ball doesn't come
thing. It's the same thing behind the drum kit. You can be doing really crazy and fast stuff, but then you're so good and fluid and smooth with it that it just looks like you're almost freezing time, but you're like, and then what you're listening to, you're like, wow, that's like 1,000 miles an hour. But then it's just all right here and just really, really fluid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Are you sorry you asked now?
No. I was just kind of curious. I hadn't read anything about why he did that, or
I have not seen anything about that. I really haven't. haven't.
I'm sure if I looked up some drummer Reddit threads or something, they have all the answers and everything. But I didn't do that because I'm not a drummer. If John Petrucci came out with a 1965 Gretsch guitar or something like that, I'd be like, hey, what's up with that?
Wait a minute. Well, or Bixby whammy on it or whatever it is.
As long as it sounds the same, I'm like, okay, whatever.
Sure. So, is this Alien?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Excellent.
But yeah, so they play. What else we got?
Last clip here from DT. He's got a few octobans up there, just not as many as he usually had. He just doesn't have them this high.
They're usually above his head, though.
You gotta like Jordan Rudis' keyboard there, able to tilt that thing and do whatever he needs to do. Sweet picking, man. He's the master of it.
I'll tell you another thing. I was concerned about maybe like some tone issues and sound and stuff. Man, I'm going to tell you, James, and I think you said the same thing. That was probably the best guitar tone I've heard ever at a concert. I mean, it was just amazing. And I think you told me that 5 or 6 times during the show, like, man, it sounds so
was
good.
Outstanding. Yes. And part of it, that venue is really good too. Like the acoustics in there it is perfect. but his tone is just, and the way it's not just the tone, but the intonation of the notes and everything you can hear crystal clear, even though he's playing 1,000 miles an hour. And I've heard the only other two guitar tones I've heard that are comparable to that are John Sykes and Ty Tabor from King's X.
King's X, yeah. Okay.
Yes, Ty Tabor has just about as delicious a sound off that guitar as John Petrucci.
Yes, man. We've talked about him, and it's muddy, but it's clear, and
it's dirty, but it's clean, but it's all of it. Yes. Good stuff.
But anyway, Petrucci had his thing going on, and some of those, when he was holding those notes and doing some things at the end of songs and stuff, it was just like, it just smacks you right in the face, and you're like,
yes,
man, beautiful, But
their overall sound I thought was fantastic, because it was really loud, but it wasn't too loud, and it was clear. It was super clear, and that's on them, because they demand that.
Right.
They demand that.
I think that they love that arena, or not arena, the hall, I guess you want to call it. Because they've been playing there probably 10 years.
That's the second time I've seen them there.
10 years that every time, they used to play, they played downtown in the old Dodge Theater. They played at Celebrity Theater, the Phoenix Union High School. Remember back on that? They played a bunch of different places. But ever since they found this place out in Mesa, they're like, man,
they've been hooked. Yes. And they were one of the first shows at that venue, actually. They played there shortly after it opened. They were probably one of the first 3 or 4 shows there ever.
And I think that their crew and everything say, hey, you keep coming back to this place, because this place is it's like a symphony hall. It has great natural acoustics, and so I think that's why they keep playing there.
Good stuff.
Real quick here before we get off here, since we're talking about Dream Theater, I thought it would be a great thing, and we'll do this again and we'll spend a whole show on it. But I wanted to pick my favorite album, and I wanted you to pick yours from Dream Theater.
Okay.
Just maybe give a brief synopsis, a little paragraph or whatever, why you like yours, and I'll tell you why I like mine. Excuse me. And do you want me to start, or do you want to start?
You start. You go ahead.
Okay. Now,
favorite Dream Theater album.
The one that pops out into my head. Well, I'm going to tell you my second place one. Real fast. Now, you can think of a second place one. I'm just going to mention. Okay. I'm not going to talk about it. But I think it's just called Dream Theater, and it has oh man, now I can't even remember what's on there. But it's has a black album cover, and they did a live version of it. Man, just give me 1 second here, because
you're fine.
It's just called Dream Theater, and oh geez, man, now I can't find it. But do you know what I'm talking about? It's just it has songs like The Bigger Picture, Behind the Veil, Along for the Ride, excuse me, Enemy Inside, Illumination Theory.
Okay.
But I don't know. It's just a second place mention real quick. I like that album. But my favorite of all time, excuse me, I got something going on here. I hope it's not COVID, everybody.
It's okay. We're virtual. You're all good.
Is The Astonishing. And that's going to surprise people. And I've heard
literally astonishing.
Yes, because now I love all the albums. That's not what got me in. The first few albums is what got me in Dream Theater.
Yeah,
but this album, it's like almost every song on there is like could be a hit, and it's a story. It's a concept album, and it's very complicated and long. I've heard some other guys talk about it, and they're like, that's just John Petrucci. That's a John Petrucci album. And
all over the guitar.
You got to understand, John Petrucci and Jordan Rudess, I don't know how you say his name, wrote it. And then they brought the other guys in and said, all right, you guys put your parts to it. So
honestly, it's the least familiar album of their catalog. And I'm glad that it's your favorite, because now it's kind of challenged me to go check it out and get into it. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah, when I first heard it, and I think I even told you, hey man, Dream Theater has a new, and I said, I don't really like it. It sounds kind of mechanical and stuff. But the sound, the Gift of Music, I think was the first song they threw off on it. And I was like, But then the more I listened to it and the more I got into it, I'm like, man, this whole album. And I'll be honest with you, I've never listened to it from start to end in one sitting, because it's about 3 hours long. It's about 2.5 hours long. And it tells a story, and I actually even went and got into it and read the story and everything. Excuse me. Wow. And it's a great, it's just a great, it's kind of a, I don't want to say a love story, well, I guess it kind of is, but it's, and they even made a video game for it, and it was kind of a big thing, of course it didn't catch on, but, man, every song is I'd play some clips off it, but we don't have time for that right now. We'll talk about that later, but that's my favorite album right now. That doesn't mean I don't like the other ones. I love them all, but that's the one I like the most.
Well, I don't know about you, Ray, but I've been listening to this band for 30 years now. 92 was the first time I ever heard. That was 30 years ago. And
I thought you were only 35.
I've looked forward to every single album that's come out, but every time I get the album, it doesn't always strike me at first. Sometimes it has to grow on me, and usually it does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been that way for most of my history with Dream Theater. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, and that's what this one was for me. It took me a while but then once I started listening to it, man, I'll put that thing in the background when I'm doing stuff or whatever. I'm like, oh man, it's so beautiful. It's just a lot of really melodic. There's a lot of proggy stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's classic Green Day. But the thing is, I think what happens is a lot of people listen to it and they hear a couple of songs and then they like, man, this is too long,
Right.
But you got to listen to the whole thing. You got to take the time to listen to the whole thing. And once you do, you'll be like, man. And you know what? I took my wife to that show and she loves Dream Theater.
Yeah.
And when they did that tour, they didn't play anything else. They just played that album.
Oh,
and it was
really?
Solid 2.5 hours. Yeah. But you know what? And it was at where they played this last time, and it was filled up. And and they even said before the tour, hey, we're not playing anything else. We're just playing this album.
Just so you know.
That shows you the loyalty of their fans. They all showed up. They sat there, they listened to it. They're like, yeah, and it wasn't, you weren't going to hear, Pull Me Under. You weren't going to hear Forsaken or all this other stuff. You knew this is what you were going to get, and you expected it, and you went there to hear it. And I told her that. And so, she's now more getting into it. And, we'll talk about this album. Me and you got to dig into this album and play some clips off it, and you'll see why it's as effective as it is once you listen to it the whole way through and get into it, you're going to be like, damn, this is a good album.
Yeah, I got to check it out. Like I say, it's probably the least familiar one that I know of.
Yeah,
from the catalog.
So that's mine. Let me hear about you, man.
My favorite album is Awake. When they ripped into 6 o'clock,
yes,
at the beginning of this month at that Mesa Arts Center, I about lost it.
I
Because
know,
that is one of my favorite tunes, man. You got to know as a drummer.
Yeah, when it starts, yeah.
I mean, that you can't touch that. And then I mean, the whole album is fantastic all the way through. Every song, it's like it's one of those just roller coaster ride albums. It goes up, it goes down. It's just, and the playing is magnificent. The songwriting is unbelievable on that album.
And that's their.
I think I literally wore that CD out like 3 times.
That's their second album, right? I think it is. Well, second or third.
Second big one, yeah. Second big one.
You know, I went through and listened to it again because it's been a while since I've listened to it. And 6 o'clock, I'll tell you the ones that stand out to me. 6 o'clock, Caught in a Web.
Caught in a Web is awesome.
Yeah. Innocence Faded.
Innocence Faded is also awesome, which is track 3. Yes.
You know, Lie.
Oh,
I was listening to that, and I was like, what he does with his voice when he drops real low and then he's like, boom, goes right up to the higher notes again. You know, the dude's incredible. The singer, and James just Scarred.
Scarred is unbelievable.
One of those classic 15-minuters, you know. When you look at their,
when Mayung comes in, man, oh my goodness, you look at turn it up.
And then it says 15 minutes, and it starts off mellow. You're like, okay, this is going to be a ride because they're going to do a lot of stuff in here. And,
yes.
And hey, you got any other comments about it? Because I wanted to tell you about one thing. That's it. My only other comment is go listen to it if you haven't. Yeah, get it. Get any of those early albums from Dream Theater. That's what got me hooked. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, the later albums, of course, I learned, you know, and bought and learned to love. But Space Dive Vest.
Oh, yes.
James, let's see how, you know, I had to, okay. So when I first heard that song, I'm like, that's a weird name. And do you have any idea what that's about?
No.
Okay. Neither did I for years. You know why we don't know? Because there was no internet back then, man.
Oh, well, that's when the internet started. Was 94. That's when that album came out.
Well, you know, okay. It may have been around, but you know, there wasn't the info on it that's now. But here's what I found out. I looked it up. What is the song? Because I love this song. Yes. And I've seen him play it one time. They did it a few years ago, and I don't know how many times they played it live. But real quickly, I'm just going to tell you real quick. It is space dyeing is a technique used to give yarn a unique multicolored effect. So it's some kind of see, I used to listen to that song and I think, man, this is about some kind of medical procedure because it's a dark song. It's real dark, and I'm like, someone dying or something. But then when I read on a little bit more, supposedly James LaBrie said Kevin Moore saw this photograph in a fashion magazine of a beautiful model wearing a space dive vest, and he fell in love with her. He carried the magazine around with him for ages, but he realized the only way the innocence could be kept so that he could retain the love for her was if she stayed on the page. So that's what the song's about.
Wow.
Which is and
it's heavy duty.
Yeah, and what's his name? Portnoy stated that if he had known that Kevin Moore was about to leave the band, the track wouldn't even have been on the album. And he never wanted to play it live, and he didn't. So
really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, but it's a great song. It's a dark, I don't want to say depressing, but it is a little depressing, you know.
Well, it's got that minor chord, I think, is in there that just
Yeah, and it's not proggy or anything. It's just a real minor sounding sad song, and that obviously, that made the album. Kevin Moore loves it,
That's
So
good stuff.
anyway,
Good stuff.
well, brother, listen, we've been on here a little too long, probably, but
Always
anything
good,
else?
man.
Oh, are we? Well, are we maybe going to have a special guest next
We
time?
have a special guest. Yes, next Sunday night, we have the pleasure of speaking with Mr. Fred Coleman from Beneath a Desert Sky. We got to meet him at the Dream Theater show, and he's been a Valley concert photographer for decades now, Ray. And he's going to share some stories with us about some of his favorite shoots that he's been on, and encounters with artists, and it's going to be a fascinating conversation. I'm really looking forward to it.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to hearing this guy, talking to him, asking him some questions. I mean, this guy's been at the front of every major stage in the country, probably.
Tonight, he's covering the Innings Festival out in Tempe. That's why he was unable to join us here tonight. But Fred Coleman is scheduled to join us next Sunday night. And we'll have that episode for you out next Sunday night. That's going to be a great time. We're going to have some of his favorite pictures on here, so we can talk to us about those and some of the memories that he associates with those. It should be a good time.
And just so you all know, he's about our age. So
yep.
he or at least my age. You're a youngster, James. You're a youngster, man.
Man.
So he's, I guarantee you,
30-somethings over there.
Some good stories and some good things that he's going to share with us. And I'm really looking forward to hearing this guy.
Yeah, that's going to be a great time. So we'll catch up with him next Sunday night. We appreciate everyone joining us here tonight. Some great conversation, Ray. Always a pleasure to have you on. And let's do it again next Sunday.
All right, brother. I'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Everybody take care. We'll talk to you again next Sunday. Fred Coleman from Beneath a Desert Sky will join us. We'll talk about Valley concert photography. I believe it's going back possibly even to the 60s, Ray.
Fantastic.
So good stuff all around.
He's been in that Arizona Veterans Memorial Coliseum. We were just in there the other day, but a lot of good stuff happening in that place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Everyone take care. Have a great night. Another great episode of the Rockin' Rewind podcast. If you enjoyed tonight's show, make sure and tell your friends, spread the word, and we will talk to you again next time.
See y'all.